Vodafone has a history of branding up excellent devices and charging really reasonable amounts for them. Newsflash, they've done it again with the Vodafone Smart V8. The Vodafone Smart V8 is a new mid-range 5.5 incher coming in at £160 pay as you go. It picks up where the Vodafone Smart Ultra 7 left off. This time doubling storage, updating the chipset and improving the camera. The design also has a slick metal refresh, chamfered edges and a fingerprint scanner around the back thanks to ZTE's craftsmanship. Flat sides mean it's comfortable enough to hold and the cold metal feels solid. A flagship this isn't though, with beefy bezels and plastic accents around the back. But for the price, it's excellent. The same size and resolution as its predecessor might sound underwhelming, but it's the equivalent in terms of spec to the OnePlus 5 and iPhone 7 Plus, so is definitely still respectable. Decent brightness levels and good viewing angles come together to make the screen better than I for one expected it to be. While on first glance the interface is a relatively stock Android, unfortunately it isn't quite stock enough. Vodafone's loaded its custom launcher over the top and it does some silly things like preventing you from being able to resize widgets. There's also a favorite app screen to the left, which doesn't actually display favorite apps, or at least it didn't for me. Instead it displays expert tips. If you're a newbie you might find this useful, but me personally I found it super clunky and I switched it off pretty quickly. Luckily you can. The phone also comes with a fair bit of bloatware, but just like with a favorite app screen you can disable or uninstall it, which is very, very handy. In addition, you can also install a custom launcher to hide Vodafone's lackluster UI. I installed Eevee Launcher, resulting in a much more streamlined experience, but for even more stock Android, you can easily overlay Google's own Now launcher. Thanks to the fact the screen looks great, movies and pictures look good, but as with any bottom-firing mono speaker, it is all too easy to cover up, and even when it's exposed, it isn't quite as loud as I would have liked it to have been. That said, I am particularly impressed with the camera on this thing. The 60 megapixel snapper around the back takes excellent pictures, with some of the best detail and bokeh I've seen in the sub £200 space, thanks to its f2 wide aperture lens. Dynamic range could be better, but that's okay, given the fact that even in low light, the results aren't too shabby, and there are manual modes for enthusiasts. Videos where the lack of optical image stabilization starts to hurt things, but provided you can either get this thing on a tripod or keep your hand relatively still, the fundamental detail in the full HD video recorded is still sweet. As for the front camera, 8 megapixels, fixed focus, it's a little bit soft, but it isn't too bad for the price. There isn't a huge amount of power under the hood of this thing. The Snapdragon 435 inside benchmarks around as well as the Samsung Galaxy S5 did 3 years ago. 2D and basic 3D titles therefore play back respectively. With 3 gigs of RAM, everything from general swiping and tapping through to split screen multitasking seems to perform relatively stably, and the 32GB storage is so generous for the price, not to mention that micro SD expandability there to supplement it. One area the Smart V8 definitely does feel like a mid-ranger is the micro USB port. While most flagships and even high-end mid-rangers are shipping with USB Type-Cs these days, this older variant is less future-proofed and just more clunky. On the plus side, the phone does have a fingerprint scanner around the back and Wi-Fi and 4G connectivity. Now, the Wi-Fi did drop off a little bit when the screen was off. This just happened a couple of times, but it's something to watch out for. Other than that, we found that we didn't have any connectivity issues at all. Also, with a 3000 mAh battery under the hood, you'll easily get through a full day with light to medium usage. If you're going a bit heavy, you'll want to charge in the early evening. But irrespective, a phone that delivers this much screen, camera, storage and clout for the price, even if it isn't perfect, is still exceptional value for money. And as a result, if you're on Vodafone or want to be on Vodafone, the Vodafone Smart V8 comes in highly recommended. If you enjoyed this video, click that thumbs up button. And if you like Tech Radar, subscribe. It's how you're going to stay on top of everything we do. If you have any questions about the Vodafone Smart V8, just fire them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching Tech Radar.